I'm not accusing people of anything. I have to be very careful with my words with command. They're very sensitive. They're very sensitive, and they get very upset with me, okay? And I don't want to be upsetting sensitive people and dead horses, okay? It feels as a player as if sometimes you just decide and then you go with like a logic that fits the decision that you want. And so the CCP tested her at 100% ability accuracy reduction, which we don't know these things. But does that mean when they were doing their like final balance passes and all of that, Kabam was also testing her at 100%? Wait. Welcome back to the channel. All right, the news on Lumitrix and Spider-Woman is now out. I will admit, I'm aware that there's a nerf, a rebalance down. I think that's considered a nerf. I'm not going to get into the whole semantics of it. It's a nerf to Spider-Woman. I want to quickly read these through, and then I'm going to give my thoughts, my opinions, and most importantly, I want to hear from you as I continue to measure like the community sentiment on this channel. As you know, I'm spending freeze until after Cyber Weekend. I'm doing it because I want Command to know this is serious. This is real. Like, all right. So Lumitrix, they're saying that this is all about right. Lumitrix defensive performance balance is trended similar to those performing in Alliance War. We've settled with into healthy range. No change coming to Lumitrix. Lumitrix is a very good champion. So that's fine. That's good. I think that's okay. So now we're on to Spider-Woman. This is the one that obviously a lot of people are very upset about. And to me, this points to, you know me, I tend to see things a little differently. To me, this points to like a quality control problem. And it's a very serious problem that I think Kabam needs to address like 8 years ago. But now, no time like the present, address this. So our latest Spider-Woman, okay, blah, 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 blah. Defensively and getting directly to a critical point, Spider-Woman has been more of a menace than we wanted for her defender champion attribute being 3 out of 5. I think this is already an issue in pointing at the scores, like because I think it's very clear when you look at them, they don't line up with what we as players experience. If you think about a champion as simple as like Werewolf by Night, was obviously supposed to be a strong defender, very incredibly powerful attacker. Instead, I think it's really important, and I'm going to try to stay away from the very obvious here, but it's like Serpent's a 5 out of 5. And there's a lot of other 4.5s or 5.5s, and they ain't the same as Serpent, and he was not rebalanced, whatever term you want to use, okay? Therefore, we'll be removing the ensnare debuff from her kit so the attackers are not pressured with a long-lasting ability accuracy reduction on a regular basis. One, you could play around that. I do think it's a big ask, though. I think that's a very, very, very big ask. We expect this change to free up attackers to more consistently play around her other RPG threats like Severe Power Sting, which is real, and Fumble, which is real. While removing Ensnare, while obviously have some effect on her attack power as well, we haven't seen Spider-Woman need a solution to evade across her matchup spread. Similarly, the ability accuracy reduction isn't potent enough to encourage use of it as a solution to a defensive encounter. Just being forthright, I've actually found this ability accuracy reduction to be more a hindrance to me, because I think it's 30% and I could not rely on it. So sometimes it would fail stuff when I wasn't expecting it to. There was times where I would hope it would fail things and that wouldn't happen. And so I actually have found it annoying when I use her on attack. But was strong enough to add confusing interactions across the game. I can see why some players found it confusing. Maybe they didn't know what it did. I didn't find it confusing. I found it frustrating, something I couldn't rely on. Specifically in her Enchantress counter matchup, this evade answer didn't have many opportunities to make an impact as debilitate her own evade or Miss Unstoppable. And I mean, this is interesting. Like, it feels like they're saying that it didn't really come into play in the Enchantress counter. So that feels like a very throw in. I don't know. I don't want to. Overall, we believe this is an important update in our ongoing efforts to prevent too many strong defenders from being introduced quickly across the game. I mean, shoot. You know, I think if that was the case, guys, I'm here. I'm going to try not to rant, guys, because I've done a rant video, and I'm trying to be very objective. I'm trying to be clear. I'm not pro-Kabam. I'm not anti-Kabam. I also don't believe in kicking dead horses, and this horse is decomposing. And so to yell and scream at it and to kick it would just be unreasonable to expect anything to happen. I want this horse to get up, this horse being Kabam. And it's like, this defender thing, you guys know you did not nerf Serpent. You did not rebalance Serpent. And I came out and said, I think he's too much. Also, though, I think he's doing what he is intended to do, what Kabam intended to do. I question, though, and here's where we're at, is I am now very much questioning, why would Kabam want him to do that? Why would Kabam want these things to happen? If you're interested in not having too many strong defenders being chosen quickly in the game, I think you need to get the whole Kabam team together and have everyone understand that, because it feels very clear, not understood. We keep being told about how defenders and the strength of them is important for design space. Apparently, the designers are not capable of designing champions, new ones, unless these brutally tough defenders are out. And so I would really recommend you get everyone on the same page there. And the most important thing, and when I became aware of this news, especially that it was the ensnare, is one, not just make it a passive like pursuit. Pursuit's all over the game now. It's like a shutdown of evades. I myself very rarely used Spider-Woman for evade counters, but when it came up, it was nice, I'm not going to lie. And so if this was truly about the ability accuracy reduction, which it seems to be about, one, you could just make it a 0% ensnare, right? If you're not familiar, like those abilities have a percentile, meaning they do a thing, like they shut off evade, but then there is the ability accuracy side of it, though I believe it was 30% with Spider-Woman. And you could have just made it a 0%. I don't know exactly how coding works, but I would assume that just means everywhere there said 30% on the ensnare, you just change it to a 0. You just remove the 3. And it seems like everything that would have been wanted would have been done. This whole, like, specifically, they even kind of are throwing in the evade. And if the evade's not being used to very much, then it kind of seems like, why remove it at all? If it's not really that important, why remove it? It just feels so nitty gritty and so like overly detailed to me, in light of all of the decisions of like Bullseye and Serpents, and we've gotten Zolas and Enchantresses, of all the times where you could have removed things. This feels like overly maintained, overly manicured, let's say. It honestly, as a player, I'm not saying that, I'm not accusing people of anything. I have to be very careful with my words with command. They're very sensitive. They're very sensitive, and they get very upset with me, okay? And I don't want to be upsetting sensitive people and dead horses, okay? It feels as a player as if sometimes you just decide and then you go with like a logic that fits the decision that you want. And like I said, the biggest thing for me here is the quality control. And some of you are like, what are you talking about? Is the CCP tested this champion with her ensnare at 100%. It is not the CCP's job to find bugs. In fact, when we're testing a champion on the CCP server, we almost never can see their abilities. When we go to their abilities page in the game, it's just a bunch of jumbled up garbage. It doesn't say, it's letters and numbers and things, but it's not words. And so we just have to play what we see on the abilities page. And if we see a bug, we will tell them, but we're not bug testers. At no point has anyone ever said to us, it's our responsibility. We're like the final line of defense. My understanding is that that's Kabam's job. And so the CCP tested her at 100% ability accuracy reduction, which we don't know these things. But does that mean when they were doing their like final balance passes and all of that, Kabam was also testing her at 100% ability accuracy reduction of the ensnare? We'll never know. But we do know that she went live in the game that way. I don't know, maybe you, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not ranting, is like there's a lot of things I don't know. Maybe you as a coder can tell me, because some of you are, and you're like, no, when these things are transferred onto servers or things like that, it's common for numbers to be changed, percentiles to be changed, and it makes sense that they maybe tested her at 30% ensnare, right? 30% ability accuracy reduction. But then when it went on the CCP server, it became 100% and no one caught it. And then, Trappy literally, like, you think of it as like a time archival. showed her at 100%. And then he caught on and found out it was a bug. And so he did like a retraction video, right? And there was even Kabam employees who were like, well, if the CCP doesn't catch it, and it's like, that's not our job. Like at no point in the relationship was that ever stated that we are your bug catchers. And this is the sort of quality control. This is definitely on my list of things of like, I'm not having the sort of fun that makes me want to spend. Because here's the reality of this. This character came on the CCP server, bugged. She went live, bugged. A Kabam employee tried to blame the CCP, saying that we were supposed to, I think their term was, well, if the CCP doesn't catch it, and it's like, if the cow outside doesn't catch it too, that has the same relevance. The cow outside is just as culpable or responsible for finding bugs as the CCP is. Like that is, I don't want to rant. This easily could have just become an ensnare. That ability exists everywhere in the game. It just could have. If no one's using her for evade, then just give her the ensnare because no one's using it anyway. And then you're not stuck totally seemingly nerfing a champion when community sentiment is at an all-time low. And when you obviously want to sell champions, and yet you didn't nerf Serpent. I guess they did do a nerf to Bullseye, I guess, now that I think about it. Enchantress was not nerfed. And so on and so forth. And then to tell us we're trying to prevent too many strong defenders from being introduced quickly across the game. It's like, are you new here? As I said, I want to know what you think. Let me know what I got right. Let me know what I got wrong. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.